Of Michigan State, Oregon Ducks football on at laurelhurstmarket.com by Unitas Community Credit Union. Join the team at Unitas Community Credit Union to help you reach your financial goals. And by Langdon Farms Golf Club. There's no better course in the Northwest for year-round golf. Book your tee time at langdonfarms.com. Now, here are your hosts, Andy Johnson, Dusty Hara, and former Ducks and NFL star Anthony Newman with Ducks Game Day on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome in. Happy Oregon Ducks Game Day to you, live down in Autzen Stadium for game number 5 of the 2024 season. It feels like fall. The weather is here. It is currently raining at Autzen Stadium, but later it will not be raining at Autzen Stadium. Andy Johnson, Dusty Hara with you down in Autzen. Anthony Newman back in the studio. Q, can you read me? Do you got me?
Loud and clear, and it's not raining here.
You guys got out of the bad weather early, man. Hey, I will just a quick PSA.
It doesn't rain indoors. He gets to.
This is true.
You know what, Anthony? We're going to set you up on the street right outside the studio so you can be one of us again.
Give him a stand-up microphone. Send him out in the parking lot, Russ. This is ridiculous. It's wind's blowing. It's cold. I'm not dressed appropriately.
I'm so sorry.
A little PSA for anybody driving down. Traffic sucks. So if you haven't left yet, I would just go ahead and, let's jump on the freeway because kickoff is coming up 4 hours from now. Michigan State is in town. And, boys, look, I was out last week. I had to go to a wedding. Dusty, you were down in L.A., so we haven't kind of been together as a group now here in a couple of weeks. So, Q, I'll start with you. Just kind of your thoughts on the way the team has improved, what you saw last weekend against UCLA, and how you think they're trending now as we're heading towards the middle part of the season.
Well, I'm going to steal a quote from Jonathan Smith, the head coach of Michigan State. He said that this football team, they're playing good in all three phases. Offense, defense, and special teams. And we always talk about offense, we always talk about defense, but we never talk about special teams. But the special teams are special when you have Tez Johnson as the punt returner, Noah Winnington as the kickoff returner. You can get points, so that's really nice to add to the offense. But the offense, we haven't seen a full game of just playing, lights out football. But we've seen a half. We've seen the first half or the second half. It's either one or the other, offense or defense. But still, both teams are playing well. It's a tough team to stop because you got dudes on offense who can play where the ceiling is very high. And then you have dudes on defense that can play, that can make plays all over the field. So when you come to play Oregon, you have to play 4 quarters of football. What we would like to see is Oregon, we want them to play 4 quarters of consistent football and then see what happens.
Yeah, I'm with you, Anthony, because we've seen every phase shine, sometimes at the same time, sometimes at opposite times. For like the Oregon State game, for example, right? The offense was humming for 60 minutes. That was a complete performance start to finish.
Yep.
The defense gave us about 30 unbelievable minutes, right?
Got a good half.
You saw UCLA, right? The offense started, and boy, they look like they picked up right where they left off in Corvallis. But then the defense gives up a 66-yard drive to start. The rest of that half, they gave up negative 12 yards.
Dominated the rest of the half. Yeah.
And so we've seen the defense then kind of take over from that first drive to the rest of the game. I thought that was the most complete, impressive performance that we have seen from Oregon's defense. And that first drive is, UCLA's best shot. Those are the scripted plays that they think this is exactly what beats Oregon, in credit to the defense, the staff, the players. They tightened down the hatches, and boy, they did not let UCLA breathe for the rest of the game.
Well, I think to your point, too, I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on that second half offensively. I mean, you end the half with such a weird, crazy play where you throw essentially a 100-yard pick six, and it's a 14-point swing, and you should have gone into the half 35-3. Instead, it's 28-10. A lot of that second half offensively, to me, felt like, all right, let's go home. It's 9:30 at night. We got a short week next week. They're not scoring on us. Our defense is playing great. Let's get the hell out of here, be healthy, and get ready for Michigan State. Did you have the same vibe, Anthony, in that second half?
Well, here's another thing. Coaches don't want to show all their stuff. Yeah. So some of the things that they have in their game plan, they're like, okay, we're going to use this against them, against UCLA. And the score? Nah, let's put that away. Let's just run the football. Let's run a basic running play or a basic pass pattern. And so it's so simple, and sometimes those are easy to defend. You can stop those. So you're not bringing out, the whole weapon, all the weapons. So another thing is, as human beings, when you're comfortable, okay, you're like, this is easy. Okay, this is, and you kind of have a little letdown. And I think that's what happened with the kids. And remember, they're kids. They're not adults. They're kids. So I think they had that, wow. Okay, we're whooping their tail. Okay, this is great. And then all of a sudden, second half, you're like, where's the effort?
Yeah. Hard to turn that switch on and off throughout the course of a game.
Will Stein was in his bag early.
Yep.
And then I think kind of that turning point of, nope, like Anthony said, let's get out of here healthy, was Terrence Ferguson's injury.
Yeah.
Terrence Ferguson, he got lit up the way he did, and they went, okay, let's just call the dogs off. It's the exact same thing that happened last year, the Colorado game, right?
Whittington, yeah.
We thought they were going to score 100 on Colorado, and I think they would have tried to. But Noah Whittington's injury, that was, all right, we're done. They didn't score again after that, and they still didn't let Colorado score. So they just said, no, we're not. We're going to get out of this game as healthy as we possibly can. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Sometimes you get caught up in, no, let's beat them into submission. Let's make them try to cancel their football program forever. And instead you go, nope. Let's do our base offense, what we do. Let's try to perfect that, get out of here healthy, and we'll live to see another day.
I wonder just how much of this all, too, connects to an expanded playoff where style points aren't as important as they used to be. And these comparable scores of you only beat this team by this number and that team beat that team by this number. It's just you win your conference, you know that you're in, so you take care of business. Oregon did again last week on the road. Nice to be trending in the right direction because we all know what is looming, 8 days from now. And look, we're not on the team, so we can look ahead a little bit. There's a big one next weekend. Got to get through tonight first. Speaking of which, let's find out more about Michigan State, what they're bringing to the table. The last time Jonathan Smith was in this stadium, it was the final regular season game of last year.
Yikes.
There was a different logo on the field. Let's hear from Jonathan Smith, the head coach at Michigan State, about his thoughts on the game, the matchup, and all of that. That is coming up next behind enemy lines. Now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather. Every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store, online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
Drive time from the city now over 2.5 hours. Slow from prior to 217 past the river to exit 282. Slow again in and as you leave Salem. Looks pretty clear the rest of the way, but we might have a smoky as you approach Woodburn. 56 and mostly cloudy here in Portland, 53 and cloudy in Eugene. Ducks Game Day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day with an overnight low of 48. For the 6 o'clock kick in Eugene, look for 62, partly cloudy skies, and just a slight breeze. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican food.
Coors Light presents To Chill or Not to Chill, when your friend bets against your team and the friendship. Or choose chill because you're drinking.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day. Mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
Here's the sweep, the fly sweep, and the double. Oh, the ball's loose. Oregon might have a chance and will get on it back at the 23-yard line.
This is Behind Enemy Lines. A look at Ducks opponents with the insiders who know them best. On the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
We'll take a look at the injury report coming up in a moment. How's Oregon looking health-wise? Dusty mentioned Terrence Ferguson there in the last segment. We'll let you know what everybody said about him and his chances to play here tonight as Michigan State is in town. Kickoff at 6 o'clock. You can hear the game right here on 1080 The Fan, the home of the Oregon Ducks. Let's hear from the head coach at Michigan State. I almost said Oregon State. It's still weird to me. The logo on the field's weird. None of it makes sense, but we're here. We're happy. We're having a great time. Jonathan Smith, the head coach at Michigan State, he was asked this week if he had any survivor's guilt about the way the Pac-12 died. Here's the question. Here's the response.
I guess, that conference was a historical conference of champions, and that's painful when that kind of goes away. There is some pride and grit to the two great places that are still there, Washington State and Oregon State, and so they play at a high level. Shoot, they're playing at a high level this year. And so I think a lot of us, I don't know what regret, but just do remember how great that conference was and know how good those two universities.
It is. Look, I understand the question. I do. It's a little weird putting all that, kind of on him. Survivor's guilt.
I will tell you, the question was even more like cringy. I thought Jonathan Smith did a great job.
I thought he handled it well
of handling that, but the question was asked like, do you have any survivor's guilt or, regret? Do you know what I'm saying? And he was like, no, I don't.
No, this is not like a mass casualty event. It sucks. It's college sports, but no.
Nobody died.
No, it wasn't a plane crash, and I was the only one that survived here, okay?
Yeah.
Sharpen up the half of his press conference was about Oregon and the rivalry, and it was, I don't know, kind of, unique and awkward for him. I will say, though.
This isn't the Donner Party.
No, it is not.
We're not eating anybody here.
No, nobody's being eaten today. I have heard from Oregon State fans, though, this week who are planning on coming to the game. We've had listeners reach out. And so there's going to be some orange in the crowd. But Anthony, the strange nature of Jonathan Smith, who has been, you've been around this rivalry forever, man. Him playing in the game, coming back, being a coach, and now having him on the sidelines for another team. Survivor's guilt's a little ridiculous, but Q, it is a little weird that Jonathan Smith is back with Michigan State.
Well, he can say what he wants. It will be strange, to come down through the stadium with the different team colors, with with green, green and white, or it's gonna be white and green, all white jerseys. That's it. And also look at the coaching staff. Most of them are from OSU, so he brought a lot of guys with him. Yes, when he played here, against Oregon years ago, long time ago, he was the man. Then he came back and he coached. He understands the big game between Oregon and Oregon State. He understands about being in Autzen Stadium. But now he's with a different team, and he's with the team that's way back east. They're all the way back east. Total, so he can't really talk to them about, this is the Oregon program and this is what they do. No, it's all about his football team. This is what we need to do in Autzen Stadium. It's going to be loud. It's going to be kind of crazy. But we got to do what we need to do to take care of a very, very good football team. And that's what he's telling his kids. They're going against a very good football team.
Tough schedule for them. They played Ohio State at home last week, and now they got Oregon, obviously, on the road tonight. There is that familiarity, and before I ask you about that, Dusty, let's hear from Jonathan Smith on that. He knows a lot about Oregon, coached against them, landing the last couple of years. Here's Jonathan Smith on that.
Well, yeah, and again, once the thing's kicked off, you're approaching it as, as a coach of what can preparing the guys, and then throughout the game, you get locked in on the game, and so. And it's not just myself. Like you said, we got some other guys with connections to the place and all of that. And once it's kicked off, it's a college football game that you kind of emotionally approach it the same.
Yeah, I think the weirdness goes away once the ball's in the air. On the other side, Derek Harmon in an Oregon uniform, who was in a Michigan State uniform last year, kind of sums up modern college football a little bit.
It really does. And with so many moving parts and pieces, like it is hard to now have those scouting reports roll over from one year to the next. It's not just the transfer portal, but every year the amount of shuffle in college staffs. And I think that's one thing that you can credit Dan Lanning in Oregon right now is that, outside of Carlos Loughlin heading over to Ohio State to be a running backs coach, the staff has stayed the same. And that is saying something, especially when you are efficient as effective as they were offensively and defensively last year, to not have your staff pillaged. But I think that, Smith hit the nail on the head. It's a two-way street with the familiarity, because for just as much as they know about Oregon knows just as much as they about Michigan State. And look, Aiden Childs, Oregon game plan for Aiden Childs last year. Jack Velling, Oregon game plan for Jack Velling last year. And Derek Harmon knows, and Anthony, you can speak to this. Derek Harmon knows by going in practice, and even though the transfer portal affects you, you learn everybody's tricks and secrets in practice, offensive and defensive line especially, with kind of how they move and in their go-to moves to go against defenders.
Oh, it's funny. I was going to say that. With the coach, it's a little different. With the player, you just, you were with that team. You're in the locker room. You're going through fall camp together. And then now you're on a different team. You know the guys you're going against. So the offensive center, the guard, the tackle, he knows them well. Derek Harmon knows them well. And there's some tricks that he can help tell his guys, hey, this guy does this guy does that. These guys do it all the time. So he's gonna know, okay, we can get a jump on the ball when he snaps the ball because this guy's gonna take his hand and he's gonna move it, to the right or to the left.
Right,
those little tendencies are indicators that are really an advantage for guys who leave a program and then the next year you have to go and play that program. That's kind of strange.
Yeah, it's a very modern, unique thing that didn't used to exist, but now it definitely does.
Hey, I'll tell you one thing too, and this is a very small thing, but you also know what gets under guys' skin in the trash talk. Like, exactly what buttons to push that can send a guy sideways, and you know what guys you can jaw at and not jaw at. And
who can you draw a 15-yard penalty from by saying the certain thing?
Those are that's like the game inside the game that nobody's going to hear what was said. But when you have that intimate knowledge, it actually is a weapon.
Yeah,
yes,
it really could be, and that is a unique thing that Oregon has going for them tonight. Derek Harmon's been awesome for them, arguably their best defensive lineman or one of their best defensive linemen early in the season. And just to paint a picture for you, Anthony, we're waiting for the tent to just blow away. We got that sideways wind going right now. And so if you're watching on YouTube, first off, hello. The camera's going to probably fall over at any given moment, so if it just keels over, keep watching. We're still here. Before we wrap up this segment on Michigan State, I'll let you go, Anthony, and then you, Dusty, just kind of when you look at them, the numbers, we haven't watched a ton of them this year. I think they were the Peacock game last week against Ohio State, but we know Aiden Childs. What kind of stands out to you, Anthony, when you look at the opponent tonight?
Well, they have a tough defense. Their defense is stout. Here's the problem with Michigan State. They got a lot of new players. They have a lot of injuries, and you got a lot of new coaches. When now I'm saying a lot of new. That's a problem. When you have a lot of new, and there's not consistency everywhere, then you may have a tough time playing a very good football team for 4 quarters. Now, on the other hand, they have some dudes in spots. Okay, and we'll get into that later on. There are some dudes in spots, but as a whole, they struggle a little bit. Yes.
Yeah, Aiden Childs, we saw the flashes last year of him at Oregon State, and he didn't get a whole heck of a lot of run, but in the time he did, you saw his athleticism, his ability to push the ball down the field. I think right now, to Anthony's point, Jonathan Smith, we know what he looks. He's a developer of talent, and they need another year before they can develop and round those guys into form.
Yes.
And I think that's where Michigan State is at right now.
Well, they're struggling to run the ball, so they're not helping their young quarterback
offensive
very much
line play.
in that category. So that's going to make things tough for him. They do throw the ball down the field a ton, so it'll be a good test for Oregon secondary tonight. That is a look behind enemy lines at Michigan State, who is in town. Dusty's now holding the tent to make sure it doesn't fly away, and we'll see if we can keep everything on the rails for the next hour and 40 minutes or so. Let's take a look at the injury report coming up next. Who's in? Who's out? What do we know? That's next. Now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's online for your game day celebration or in-store online for pickup delivery at victorricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
Drive time from the city, now over 2.5 hours down to Eugene. Slow from Pryor to 217, past the river to exit 282. Slow again in and as you leave Salem. Looks pretty clear the rest of the way, but there might be a smoky as you approach Woodburn. It is 56, mostly cloudy here in Portland, 53 and cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day with an overnight low of 48. For the 6 o'clock kick in Eugene, look for 62 and partly cloudy skies with just a slight breeze. I'm Jeff Russ with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day.
We should have our guys available. Right now, we're still waiting to see. We have some guys that still have to get healthy.
This is the Zoom Care Injury Report. A look at the injuries that could impact today's game and the key matchups in college football. Brought to you by Zoom Care. With more than 20 neighborhood clinics in Oregon and Southwest Washington, Zoom Care offers convenient access to same-day urgent and emergency care, plus an expanded primary care team, currently accepting new patients. Schedule or learn more at zoomcare.com.
All right, let's take a look at the injury report. We lost the camera once. I think we're back up and running. I think we're okay. We're holding on. A little windy, a little chilly. It looks like the clouds are breaking up a little bit. So if you're on your way down, first stop, brace for a long drive because traffic is terrible today. And second, it should be clear by the time the game starts, but we'll keep an eye on that here throughout the course of the pregame show. The big injury news last week was Terrence Ferguson going down early in the game. We talked about that earlier, Anthony, and just the impact that had maybe on play calling in the second half. It does sound like he should be able to go tonight. Full steam ahead. He was back at practice this week. But just what do you think that does if he's not at 100%, Anthony, for that tight end room? Because we've seen Kenyon Sadiq a little bit this year. Patrick Herbert's played. I know he had a big drop last week and what should have been a touchdown pass. But Ferguson maybe not being 100% and how that affects the tight end room.
Well, first of all, that was a scary play when Ferguson got hit. I mean, it didn't look good at all. And being an ex-player, seeing that, I'm like, oh, that's not good. But I'm glad he's okay, and if he can play, yes. If not, it's the next guy up, and I like Sadiq. I think he's a dude. I think he's young, so he makes a lot of different. I don't know. I'm not in the film room, but certain mistakes you can see that he's making because he's a young guy. But he's an athlete. He can play, in the box. He can play out wide. He can come start in the backfield. His size is like, okay, he's bigger than a running back, bigger than a receiver. Okay, he's not as big as a tight end, but yet he can do it all. So he's dangerous, and use him. And I think they will use him to a certain extent. That where is he? Find Wando. What's that guy's name? Find who?
Yeah, Waldo.
Wando.
Wando. I like Wando.
Yeah.
Where's Wando?
Where's Wando?
I like this.
I'm looking for Wando. Where's
Exactly.
he at in the stands tonight?
But see, here's another thing also. And again, you have so many weapons on that offense, right? So, okay, we're not going to use the tight end today. We're going to use the receivers. We're going to go 10 personnel. That means 4 receivers out there, people. Okay, let's do this. Let's bring the other 2 tight ends in. Let's go Herbert in also 2 tight ends. Let's go 2 backs. There's so many things that they can do with this offense. That's what's hard for a defensive coordinator to defend. What are they doing, or what are they going to do?
Yeah, and on that note, Dusty, we kind of have our eyes on the tight end position because of the injury to Ferguson, even though he's likely going to play tonight. I'm wondering.
I'll tell you what, they're talking like he is.
They're talking like he is.
Like he is going to
he's
go.
He's going to be fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like we heard that with Bet. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So, number 2 tight end is my question.
Yeah.
And at one point, Anthony was just touching on it. The Herbert name has so much lore in this university, this program, and Patrick has been a great Duck for a long time. At what point is there a question of who's number 2 when you don't want to call it, but he had the fumble against Boise State, and he dropped the touchdown pass against UCLA, and Kenyon Sadiq, to Anthony's point, kind of getting better and better every single week.
I think we probably do see Kenyon Sadiq a little bit more, and don't rule out, they'll still run that 13 personnel. They are very high on a guy who's played in every game so far and had very small roles, and he's playing a lot of special teams. Roger Saliapaga, the freshman tight end out of Utah.
Right. That's right.
He has seen action in every game so far, so he's played 4. That's a guy to keep an eye on to see if Terrence Ferguson is limited or if he's not out. He's more of a receiving tight end right now because he's a freshman.
Yes, not quite there body wise. Yeah,
but he does not prevent them from abandoning the 13 personnel that they've run, one back and 3 tight ends.
So we're still waiting on Matthew Bedford. We'll see how long he's going to be out. Gary Bryant still seems to be out, but it looks like Terrence Ferguson will be good to go. We'll see how it impacts the tight end rotation tonight. The injury report brought to you by ZoomCare. More than 20 neighborhood clinics in Oregon and Southwest Washington. ZoomCare offers convenient access to same-day urgent and emergency care, plus an expanded primary care team currently accepting new patients. Schedule or learn more at ZoomCare.com. We'll give you our Legends Casino Hotel Lock of the Week. That's next. Ducks pregame show live down at Autzen on 1080 The Fan.
It's time for our intrepid hosts to give you their lock of the week in college football.
If I were a more serious college football gambler, I would have locked this in earlier.
The Legends Casino Hotel Lock of the Week. Brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish. Legends Casino Hotel, within winning distance.
All right, let's take a look at our Legends Casino Hotel Lock of the Week. I don't know what's standing out to you guys this week. I will give you my easy lock as Tara's holding our tent so it doesn't fly away. So, okay, we're having fun down here at Autzen. Beautiful weather, beautiful football weather. I'm going to fast forward to tomorrow night, gentlemen, when we're all sitting around watching football, hopefully. And that game is the Woke versus Coke game. We have Woke versus Coke down in the Bay Area. Miami is on the road at Cal in an ACC conference game. And I don't know if you guys watched that one last Friday night, but Miami did not look good. And I just have flashbacks every time Mario has to go to the Bay Area, and I think of a 3-9 Stanford team beating Oregon 2 weeks after they beat Ohio State, one of the most shocking losses of my lifetime. That spread is 10.5 currently, and that is my lock of the weekend. I am going Cal. I don't know if they'll win, but Miami's funky. That's a long 10:30 body clock start time for them. I'm going Cal to cover that spread. Let's go, Will Cox.
Wow. I like it. I'll go with that. I like it. No, I like it.
I don't like it. I love it.
Love it?
I love it.
Easy
10.5. Let's go.
10.5.
Look, Fernando Mendoza, the funnest name to say outside of General Booty in all of college football for a quarterback. But Fernando Mendoza he's one of those white knuckle it guys where it is really exciting or really sad.
He's got a bit of John Materin, and you're like, oh God, oh God, oh God. Oh, nice play.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't throw that. Good job. Yeah.
But there is something about Cam Ward, and I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now. If you look at him at Washington State, if you look at him at Incarnate Word, he has like 4 out-of-this-world games, and then he has these little swoons in October where he comes back down to earth. And we thought there was a little bit of it in last week against Virginia Tech, where you were going, what in the world is
missing,
he
like
thinking?
throwing balls 10 yards over guys, and they'll have a shovel pass on, to save a drive, and you're like, oh, okay.
And credit to him and credit to Miami, though. They got that thing back on the rails, and they ended up winning a game.
Yep.
Or not losing a game, because that Hail Mary in the back of the end zone probably should have gone Virginia Tech's way had he just held on to the football.
That's what happens when a conference commissioner steps in and says, we're not screwing off our undefeated team. They're going to the playoff this year, damn it. So there you go. There's your lock of the week, brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel and Toppenish. Legends Casino Hotel within winning distance online, legendscasino.com. We'll take a look at our keys to the game. Oregon, Michigan State coming up tonight at Autzen Stadium. That is next. First, it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victorico's Mexican Food. Order Victorico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup delivery at victoricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
Drive time from the city down to Eugene, now well over 2.5 hours. Slow from prior to 217, past the river to exit 282. You get more backup as you approach the Donald Aurora exit, almost all the way to nearly Woodburn. Slow again in and as you leave Salem, and again at exit 244, and even more slowing as you approach Albany. It looks pretty clear the rest of the way, though. We might have a smoky as you approach Woodburn. 56, mostly cloudy here in Portland. 53 and cloudy in Eugene. Ducks Game Day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day here, with an overnight low of 48. For the 6 o'clock kick in Eugene, 62, partly cloudy, just a slight breeze. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victorico's Mexican Food.
Looking for an unforgettable escape this fall? Discover Legends Casino Hotel, just a short drive up the gorge in Toppenish, Washington, where excitement meets luxury. Play your favorite slots and table games, enjoy delicious dining at our top-notch restaurants, and unwind in our elegant hotel rooms and indoor pool. With thrilling promotions and live entertainment, Legends Casino Hotel is the ultimate destination for fun and relaxation. Visit legendscasino.com to book your stay. Legends Casino Hotel, within winning distance.
The Fan 411.
Join Isaac and Suk for a football party at the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill at A&A. Primetime will be live from 3 to 7 p.m. on Monday night, October 7th, while you watch the game on the region's largest video wall. Great food, drinks, wing specials, and more are all part of the fun. And so is the A&A Sportsbook, where you can bet on pro and college football. For more information on the Isaac and Suk football party at A&A, go to 1080thefan.com.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day. Mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
I think there's two ways to create explosive plays from players, and that is everybody wins their one-on-one, you get explosive plays, or we have extreme detail in how we play.
It's time for the Audi Wilsonville Keys of the Game. A look at the players and units that have to have a big day for the Ducks. Brought to you on The Fan by Audi Wilsonville, offering unmatched service to help you find the perfect car. Online at AudiWilsonville.com.
All right, we're a little closer to kickoff. Oregon, Michigan State, 6 o'clock right here on The Fan. We're down at Autzen Stadium. Editor Johnson, Dusty Hara, Anthony Newman hanging out with you. He's back in studio because he's got a big game tonight. And Q, I will start with you as we look at our keys to the game tonight. When I ask you for a key, what's the first one that sticks out in this matchup here this evening?
It starts with the big boys up front. Offensive linemen and defensive linemen for Oregon. The offensive line have to do a great job, have to run the football well. Now, you're going against a team that can stop the run. They only give up 114 yards, per game. So they have a stout defense, and so that is going to be a challenge. But we'd like to see the offensive line get after it. And also, the Oregon's defense, they have to stop the running game because they don't. Michigan State doesn't have a running game, so you need to allow Aiden Childs to throw the football because he has 8 picks. So he's going to throw the ball away. Make him throw the football down the field.
Dusty, what's your first key tonight? What are you looking at?
I'm with Anthony in running the football. I mean, they have run the football very effectively over the last 10 quarters, right? We go back to when this offensive line rotation had been solidified, second half of Boise State, and they ran for 93 yards in that second half. They go for 240 against Oregon State, $153 against UCLA. It is running the football and running the football effectively, and that opens up absolutely everything in this offense, especially the downfield shots, and we need to start seeing guys like Evan Stewart get loose. I mean, Evan Stewart against UCLA, he just caught balls behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
You know, and one of his biggest weapons is his ability to get behind defenses. Not that Tez Johnson and Trayshawn Holden have a problem with that either.
Right.
But I would love to see them run the ball and then take those shots over the top and soften up Michigan State.
Yeah, we saw that from Stewart in the Boise State game where he had the, whatever it was, 5 catches, 100-something yards, the touchdown catch, the other one that was nearly a touchdown. But that's really only his explosive game of the year. I'm going to follow what you guys are saying, just add an extra layer to it. In the run game, they have been running the ball effectively. The one thing that they're still missing is explosive plays in the run game.
Yes, correct.
I think the longest one for James last week was 16 yards. Noah Whittington didn't have a run longer than 7, I want to say. Gabriel had a scramble. You had a couple of pop runs against Oregon State as the game went on, and that was nice to see. But it just, it's nice to see it effective, and the yards per carry is a decent number. So you always take that. But I think having that opportunity to, flip a field on somebody and break one for 40 yards and then hurry up to the line of scrimmage, catch a defense off guard, that's one of those things that's just kind of been missing early in the season with that running game getting going. How do we feel about how the offensive line has played, Anthony? And do you think that is solidified after all the concerns we had there in the first 2 weeks?
Yes. I mean, it takes time for an offensive line to play well together, and Dusty, this, these guys have to, they have to go to class together. They have to sleep together. They have to be together for an offensive line to gel. Honestly, it's the truth. I mean, these 5 guys, they have to be on the same page. So it takes some time because there were some new bodies in there. Guys were injured. And they're getting better. And then also, let's not put it all on the offensive line. The running backs, are you going to the right hole? Are you allowing somebody to trip you when you have a hole that's, big as a truck and you go through the hole and all of a sudden somebody grabs your shoe and you fall down. So it works with both guys, both teams or groups, I should say, working together. But the offensive linemen, they have improved since day one.
Yeah, to the running backs point, Anthony, you hit the nail on the head because, I mean, the running backs the first couple of weeks, it was being too aggressive to the hole, like seeing where the hole should be. I know where it should be, and I'm just going to run into a mass of humanity. Oregon State, they used a lot more pace and patience to let some develop, and then, boom, one cut, go. Against UCLA, they kind of slowed it down a little bit. And, I mean, I don't know how many – I wish somebody would go back and watch the film over these first 4 games. How many ankle pick tackles have happened?
A lot.
And those are so frustrating because it's like green grass, and it's really hard to run through because your balance gets thrown off when somebody – it's like when you're walking and your friend kicks your leg out,
right?
The
back of your foot.
The back of your foot. That's exactly what's happened to these guys. But it comes with experience, it comes with balance, and just kind of working through that and powering through that. And gosh, they're so close to popping a lot of big ones. I'm with you. I want to see some explosives.
I mean, that's the difference between a 6.5-yard carry and a 27-yard carry, right? It makes a big difference at the end of the game. Audi Wilsonville offers unmatched service to help you find the perfect car online at AudiWilsonville.com. Those are our Audi Wilsonville keys to the game. You know who would be happy with those keys? Mike Jorgensen.
Jorgie.
Run the damn ball.
Run the ball.
Run the ball. There we go. I love it. Let's take a look at the Big Ten and what's going on this weekend in Oregon's new conference. Some very interesting matchups, including one up in Seattle tomorrow afternoon. That is next on the Ducks pregame show. But now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather. Every 10 minutes brought to you by Victorino's Mexican Food. Order Victorino's for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
Drive time from the city now well over 2.5 hours. Slow from before 217 past the river to exit 282. More backup as you approach the Donald Aurora exit to nearly Woodburn. Slow again in and as you leave Salem, and then again at exit 244. Even more slowing as you approach Albany, but otherwise looks pretty clear the rest of the way. You might have a smoky as you approach Woodburn. It is 56, mostly cloudy here in Portland, 54 and mostly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day with an overnight low of 48. For the 6 o'clock kick in Eugene, look for 62 and partly cloudy skies with just a slight breeze. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food.
It's time to take a look at this big, beautiful coast-to-coast conference.
4 Big Ten teams, they will benefit. I can't wait for it.
This is the Big Ten Preview. A look at the conference schedule on the Odyssey app. And your home for Oregon Ducks football. 1080 The Fan.
Yeah, we're calling BS on Russ Weather Report. I'm live down here, boots on the ground. It's not Hurricane Helene, but it's damn windy, and it's chilly in hell. My feet are cold. I want to stand up and run some laps around the building.
Promotions goddess Tara is like getting her arm working out in right now. She is literally holding this tent down.
This thing's going to fly away, man.
You know what would fix all of
breeze
this?
my ass, Russ.
Me and Jeff are having a good time.
I can only go by what weather.com says.
Yeah.
We're having a good time
It
up
says
here.
currently about 7-mile-an-hour wind.
You know, I know this wouldn't be happening if the mayor was in the Shofsky
If the mayor
Pavilion
was
right
here,
now.
it would not be taking
If the
place.
mayor was here, if
No
Anthony
mayor.
Newman was here,
Yeah.
there would be no wind. And you know what it would be? We'd have so many people coming to say hello.
Yeah,
we could have a
right.
person
It'd
on
be
every
blocked off.
corner.
Yeah, there'd be
we could
walls
have
of
a
people.
person on every. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, we're
right.
used to
They're
it.
blocking the wind.
We're used to it every week. The big crowds that come to see Anthony, they're not here today. Nobody cares about little old us, but we're still here. We're doing the show.
Okay.
We got flipped off 4 times.
We did, man. People cussing us out down here. Let's take a look at the Big Ten slate, and I'll just ask you guys any intrigue in these games. Iowa, Ohio State. Now, obviously, the big one next weekend. We all know the opponent, and I can't wait to be down here next weekend. Anything there for you, Anthony? Tomorrow, 12:30 on CBS. Ohio State playing, I would argue, their first team with a pulse this year.
Yeah, wow. Exactly. Iowa, they will run the football, but Ohio State, they have a lot of dudes that can play defense. I think it's going to be a runaway.
Okay. Dusty, you feel the same?
I do, but I also think that there is an element of I like the physicality the week before Ohio State comes to Oregon.
I do too.
Right? It was, remember the Stanford hangover of the past where teams would go and play Stanford and they just get their nose bloodied and then they have to get up off the mat and go and play the next week. That's Iowa football, offensively and defensively. Both the line of scrimmage, they play a very physical brand of football. So that will be the interesting part to me, is to see how Ohio State handles that physicality and how they rebound the following week, because they have to pack up, get on the road, and come on out to Autzen Stadium the next week.
Nice little boost for Oregon to not only play on a Friday. Now, granted, you win. You got to take care of business first. But you play on a Friday night. They play on a Saturday, so you got one extra day to prepare. And then they, to your point, have Iowa, who is a physical football team. Washington is hosting Michigan, and this is the funniest point spread of all time, because Michigan is a top 10 team in the country. They are on the road. Technically speaking, a top 10 team in the country. They're on the road against a 2-loss Washington team who lost to Rutgers last weekend. And Michigan is an underdog in this game. Washington's the favorite. I think Vegas looking at that, saying they're not going to be stupid this week. What do you make of that one? And is this a big opportunity, Anthony, for Washington tonight or tomorrow?
Well, Washington, I'm not sold on Washington. Here's the problem with Washington, with the Huskies. They're like roaches, okay? When you walk into a shed, an old shed, okay, and you open the door and turn on the lights, they all take off and run, okay, and they disappear. That's what happened to that football team. They disappeared. Everybody, they went to they all left. The coaches left. The players left. Who do they have? I'm like, come on. So I'm not sold on Washington yet right now. Nah. I think Michigan's going to I think they'll take care of business.
I love that.
You want to follow that one up, Dusty?
I don't know what I could say.
No.
I mean, except for I think Vegas is looking at Washington does play football in the 21st century where they throw the ball forward.
They can throw a forward pass. They can. Yes, they can.
I think that may be it. And look, Washington, to Anthony's point of, they have so many new pieces. They melted down last week.
That was a bad
When you outgain a team by 222 yards and do not turn the football over one time, and you lose? The penalties, they are an undisciplined football team.
I have never seen a player run onto the field after a blocked kick while the ball was still in play. I've been watching football for God knows how many years.
Well,
I have never seen
unfortunately, Anthony and I have probably seen that because that's a high school thing.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
What the hell are you doing? Get on this. Need your get back guy there, man.
Yeah, but they're in a weird spot right now, and if you look at nationally where they rank in penalties, 123rd out of 134 teams in college football, averaging 8.5 penalties a game for 81 yards. So they're not just little penalties. They get hit, and they get hit hard with them.
They absolutely do. That looks like a game tomorrow that's a turning point in the season. You win, big win, you feel good. Not everybody's down on Jed Fish. You lose that one, drop back-to-back. Go look at their schedule the next 2 months. It is not easy for Washington, so a big one in Seattle. The only other really game to note we'll keep an eye on tomorrow is USC on the road at Minnesota. Minnesota got screwed last week in Ann Arbor on the onside kick call. USC has started slow the last couple of weeks, so we'll see if that comes to fruition in Minneapolis.
I don't think Oregon fans can ever say anything about onside kicks hosing a team after the Oklahoma one.
Hey, we recovered that kick, all right? The replay confirmed it. We had that ball, right?
As the Oklahoma dude is on his sideline holding the football.
No, it's a different ball. He switched out the balls. It was a different ball in play. There you go. There's your Big Ten preview. We'll see what happens in the conference throughout the course of the weekend, and, of course, starts tonight as Oregon is taking on Michigan State. We'll hear from the head coach, Dan Lanning, who joins Isaac Katsuka every week. This week, a day earlier, the Unitas Community Credit Union Coaches Corner. That's next. Ducks pregame show on 1080 The Fan.
Football season is back, and that
Freshman, choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. It's time for the Unitas Community Credit Union Coaches Corner. Comments from Oregon coach Dan Lanning with Isaac and Sue. Brought to you by Unitas Community Credit Union. Join the team at Unitas Community Credit Union to help you reach your financial goals.
Oregon's a unique school in a sense that it becomes a school that a lot of kids consider their dream school, but they might be thousands of miles away. A great example of how the brand resonates throughout the United States.
The Ducks Coaches Corner with Isaac and Sue on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
I wanted to ask you that in your coaching travels, or maybe when you were at Georgia, did you ever have a group of pass catchers like you have now at Oregon?
I don't know. Probably, yeah. I mean, I think we have a really solid group here right now, a really talented group, and I've been a part of some really talented teams too that had a talented group also. So yeah, I think we've had some similar guys. Each guy's different. Each guy has different strengths and weaknesses, but I really like the group that we have right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I mean, Oregon has had phenomenal quarterback play, phenomenal running back play. Still have that. But from a receiver standpoint, this is the best that we've seen in 20 years. You just don't get a lot of big NFL guys, and it feels like this room is different.
Yeah, I think it's a group that can be really really special for us and can do a really good job. Certainly has a lot of talent, and I think they're getting better and better each week.
I mean, isn't that kind of the difference? Like you said, you've been at big time programs, and you know, Alabama, Georgia. I mean, the two biggest in the country. William Jewell, yes,
That's right.
the crown jewel. But it's like when you get to Oregon, and not that Oregon didn't have great talent, but I mean, was there one of those things where when you got here, you knew that if you wanted to be on that level, you needed rooms like this? You need position groups that are full of not one NFL guy, but 3 or 4 NFL guys.
Well, I said to our coaching staff just the other day, more than just wide out, I said, ask them who the greatest coach of all time was. And there's a lot of different, names that come out, but people start mentioning like John Wooden or Gino over at UConn or, Belichick, whoever that might be, Nick Saban. And I said, you know what all those people have in common? They have the best players, right? So, like, if you want to be the best, like, go have the best players. And that doesn't matter really what position we're talking about. If you want to be the best, you need to have the best players. And that's why we put such an emphasis on recruiting. I think that matters a lot. And we certainly have some talented players on our roster right now.
That is the coach, Dan Lanning, every week on our show. He is brought to you by...
This is Big Ten right now.
I think he is, yeah. He's brought to you by Unitas Community Credit Union. Like a coach's playbook, Unitas has a winning strategy for your finances. You, us, Unitas.
Drive time from the city keeps inching upward, slow from before 217 past the river to exit 282. More backup as you approach the Donald Aurora exit, and then almost all the way to Woodburn. Slow again in and as you leave Salem, and again at exit 244. And then you've got even more slowing as you approach Albany. It looks pretty clear the rest of the way. We might have a smoky south of Hubbard. 56, mostly cloudy here in Portland. 54, mostly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day here with an overnight low of 48. For the 6 o'clock kick in Eugene, look for 62 and partly cloudy skies with just a slight breeze. I'm Jeff Russ with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes. Brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's Mexican Food for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
Attention! Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments?
Let's find out who the next Ducks will be.
Oregon has really, really put their hooks in the Northwest. Suddenly, this class looks like it could be very, very special.
It's time for Recruiting with Andrew Nimick, the Ducks Game Day edition on 1080 The Fan.
All right, let's talk some recruiting. It looks like things are trending in the right direction. Joining us now, our recruiting insider here on The Fan, Director of Recruiting for High School on SI, at Andrew Nimick on Twitter. Andrew Nimick. His show is every Thursday, 7 to 8 p.m. right here on The Fan. Nimick, good afternoon to you. I feel like a theme of our hits this year has been their issues on the offensive line. And then, hey, lo and behold, we got an offensive lineman commitment to flip from Tennessee. So looks like Oregon's trending, or at least starting to make some inroads in that category.
Yeah, problem solved. No, it does. It
all right, all done. Okay, see you later.
It certainly helps to add a 5-star offensive lineman into the mix, and the truth is, what we're seeing is kind of an extension of this Dan Lanning plan to tap into some of the top high school programs in America. You know, for a long time, Oregon was second fiddle and really third and fourth fiddle to USC and others for modern day talent, for St. John Bosco talent. We've clearly seen that they've changed the narrative there, and with an exclamation point when it came to Mateo Uiagalelei, the 5-star defensive lineman, now a star for the Oregon Ducks. Then it was Bishop Gorman out of Nevada, and I know you don't think of Nevada as a hotbed for high school football, and yet every year Bishop Gorman's one of the top 5-10 programs in America, and Oregon just really couldn't tap into that. Now they have a pair of elite offensive linemen in this class from Gorman, and you kind of wonder, does Oregon are they kind of the top dog now as a recruiter for the top 3 programs in the West region? So yes, they solved some offensive line issues. I'd still like to see them kind of hit a little more consistently at the top of their board early in the cycle, but that's nitpicking at this point when you've got, 2 4-star, high 4-star offensive linemen in the class and a 5-star. But again, we're also seeing, on top of hitting the offensive linemen, that a trend that Dan Lanning's starting to tap into the top programs out west and really become a big bully for any top West Coast program.
Now, I read your article about Jackson Cantwell, too. I have more questions about this kid because he seems like an interesting recruit. 2026 offensive tackle, one of the top prospects in the entire country for the 2026 class. Sounds like he's addicted to teams' gloves, but it also seems like his genetic lottery is he was a winner and he was predisposed that he's going to be a freak athlete.
Yeah, his dad is an Olympic silver medalist as a thrower. His mom is a former Olympic athlete as a thrower. So you've got 2 parents who are Olympic throwers and have a kid. You're going to be pretty good. Now factor in he's 6'7", 305 pounds, and the gloves are exciting, but this is a dude who understands the game when it comes to accessories. So yes, he's at one time wore a Georgia glove on one hand, a Missouri glove on the other. For their game against, get this, they played a school called Kickapoo. Kick-a-poo, it's all one word, Kickapoo. He wore Oregon gloves, then switched to Nebraska gloves, and 2 weeks ago, he took the field and he was supposed to carry the flag, like the team flag. He switched it out with a Waffle House flag and ran onto the field carrying a Waffle House flag. The dude is amazing. Not only a dominant offensive lineman, the number 2 player in the country, number 1 offensive tackle, but just an absolute personality. And the other thing is, when you get to that level, it's really hard to get interviews. He has called me back, texted me back, messaged me back within an hour or two every single time that I've pestered him. Wow. And I've pestered him a lot. I've probably reached out 7 times in the last 2-3 months just for updates. He always responds and always says thank you for reaching out. A great kid. And the Waffle House coming to Eugene, with him carrying a flag. We could just see the future here potentially if they were to get Cantwell. But I do think Georgia and Missouri are probably the favorites there.
He's got Burrito Boy flag.
He totally does. Yeah, different NIL deal every single week for this kid, man. That is awesome. Look, we're gonna have a lot to get to with you next week, Nimick, because I can't even imagine how big of a recruiting weekend that is going to be for Oregon. But I feel like in following you, there's a couple of big name guys, at least a couple of kids in town. What do we expect tonight? And then just like on a scale of 1 to 10, how insane is that visitor list going to be next weekend?
Next weekend's list will be the best game day visit in the history of the program by a very long way. I mean, we could be looking at double-digit 5 stars on campus. It's going to be absolutely massive. This weekend provides a taste, and Oregon did a nice job. Okay, who's got a bye week around the country? Let's get those guys. And again, I mentioned in that first answer talking about tapping into the powerhouse programs. They're doing that this week. A couple of kids from St. Francis Academy are coming. That's a powerhouse program in the Northeast out of Maryland. The big name on that list, and he's already tweeted that he's there taking the picture with Dan Lanning, is Zion Ely. Zion Ely is the number 1 edge rusher in America and is widely considered the number 2 player in the country for next year's class. Jackson Cantwell's number 2, according to some. Zion Ely's number 2, according to others, in the class of 2026. He's already on campus, and I asked him what he liked about Oregon, and he just said, Dan Lanning seems like a really good dude. And I think that's what a lot of Oregon fans feel right now about the program is like, yes, they're winning. They're also in the hands of somebody that's pretty likable. Dan Lanning's a pretty likable guy, and it's interesting to see that that's playing out on the recruiting trail. They're also hosting a trio of kids from a powerhouse program in North Carolina. Aiden Harris is the best player of that group. He's the number 2 or number 3 defensive lineman in the country in the class of 2026, depending on which recruiting service you use. He's not the biggest name, though, because Thomas Davis Jr., yes, we're old as dirt.
Wow.
The son of Thomas Davis Sr., the former Carolina Panthers inside linebacker, is visiting this week. He's already 17 years old. Again, we are old. Thomas Davis Jr. is the number 7 inside linebacker in the country. He's teammates with Aiden Harris. He's also visiting. And then Aiden's brother, Andrew Harris, is a 4-star defensive lineman who's visiting. So that trio from North Carolina coming over, a pretty exciting group from the heart of ACC.
Wow, that's awesome. Good stuff. And next week, man, I can't wait to see that list. And it's going to be an exciting recruiting hit as we get ready for the Ohio State game. He's the director of recruiting high school on SI, at Andrew Nimick on Twitter, our recruiting insider. You can hear him every Thursday, 7 to 8 p.m. right here on 1080 The Fan. We always appreciate it, Nimick, and look forward to chatting again next week.
Of course, have a good one.
There you go, Andrew Nimick with a recruiting update. We still got a lot to get to. 1 more hour to go here on our pregame show live down at Autzen. The gates are open, starting to warm up a little bit. Sun's coming out a little bit. The rain has at least stopped, so things are trending up. We'll reset things, get you ready for Oregon and Michigan State. That is coming up next. But now it is time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes. Brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
It is a slow go out there, approaching 3 hours now to Eugene. Intermittent periods of slowing from north of 217 all the way to about Hubbard and the Salem area, pretty mucked up as well. Looks pretty clear the rest of the way, though, after that. 56 and cloudy here in Portland, 54 mostly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day with an overnight low of 48. For the 6 o'clock kick in Eugene, look for 62, partly cloudy skies and just a slight breeze. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican food.
Your home for Oregon Ducks football is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland.
He's got the speed. He's going to score.
1080 The Fan, an Odyssey sports station. Ducks Game Day continues.
Trips to the right for Dylan Gabriel. Tez alone to the left. Might be holding. Back to throw Gabriel. Has some time. Sprints to his left. Throws into the end zone. It's caught. How did he get that through to Tez Johnson? Through traffic.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day, an insider's preview of today's game between the Oregon Ducks and the Spartans of Michigan State. Oregon Ducks football on 1080 The Fan is brought to you by Coors Light, Pacific Office Automation, Mods PDX, Victor Rico's Mexican Food, Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish, by Zoom Care, Bellagio's Pizza, Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division, Audi Wilsonville, Laurelhurst Market, by Unitas Community Credit Union, and by Langdon Farms Golf Club. Now, here are your hosts, Andy Johnson, Dusty Hara, and former Ducks and NFL star Anthony Newman with Ducks Game Day on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Hey, welcome back in. Hour number 2 of Ducks Game Day on 1080 The Fan, presented by Coors Light. Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. We are live down at Autzen Stadium. Thanks, everybody, for watching on YouTube. Make sure to give a round of applause to Promotions Goddess Tara, who is holding up the camera from falling over and the tent from flying away. The sun is slowly coming out, and the Duck and the Spartan are driving around on a John Deere together, and that is an interesting sight. I don't know where they're going, Anthony, but that's a unique one to see a Duck and a Spartan together at Autzen Stadium. We're all learning this new world, and I want to flip a bird to whoever is cooking the kettle corn in our vicinity because God does it smell good, and I am hungry. So
that Hawaiian barbecue over there too.
Oh, just every week, man. Every
Dusty,
week.
come on,
come on, man.
I'm sorry.
Who you got tonight, Anthony? By the way, who you guys got?
We have Tigard High School tonight. It's going to be it's a battle. Yeah, they're always they're big, they're strong.
I feel like Anthony does this every week, and we come in next week. What was the score? It's like 49-6. Yeah, it's a battle.
I will say no. I will say no more.
Anthony is always like, could have played better, and you're like, oh, all right. Oh, you let the other team scored a point.
Yeah, they won. They got. Well, it's not possible. They got 1 point, and I'm not happy about that.
I was mad because they got inside the 20 last week.
They got in the red zone. Come on, step it up, Wesleyan, man. I love it, dude. I love it. We're hanging out down at Autzen. Anthony's back up in the studio. It is Friday Night Lights. And look, you guys are high school coaches. You know this. And I'll start with you, Q. I know you're going to be coaching tonight, obviously, so you'll catch up on the game. But just Friday Night Lights, man. It's just something fun, unique. It sounds like Lanning's been kind of leaning into that this week. They've been playing the Permian Panther highlights from the Friday Night Lights movie. It just – I don't know. It's fun kind of having a Friday night standalone game, and it should be an awesome atmosphere at Autzen tonight.
It's funny. I tell our kids, when I was playing high school, college, and pro, the best time I had playing football was Friday night under the lights. It was just a blast. Friday night, everybody's getting off work. Everybody's, hey, let's go to the football game. Let's go watch the kid play. And now you're in college and you have a Friday night game. To me, that's great because it reminds you of the high school days because there was a lot of fun in high school Friday night under the lights. So this is the same situation. It's Friday night. I know Michigan State, you're coming a long ways, and so you've been here since Wednesday, but still, there's something about Friday nights, and it's high school football, but tonight it's college football.
Yeah. I am going to be happy once this game starts, but Friday nights are for high school football.
Yeah, you're anti-Friday night guy. Okay.
I am. But it is cool, and however you want to harness it, that's what Lanning and coaches, that's what you need to do. And it is, you can kind of harken back to, hey, guys, you guys remember how good you were in high school?
You were the best player at your school, and you dominated. Let's go do that tonight.
Every single, with the exception of Bryce Betcher, because he played at South Eugene. All these guys would be like, yeah, we were really good, But it's one of those things where,
wow.
Well, what?
South Eugene, they're okay.
Honest.
They're okay. They're all right.
They're getting better.
Yeah.
They're
fine.
right.
Come on, Dusty.
They canceled their program for 2 years, guys.
Okay.
After he left. Yeah, they did.
I didn't either.
But when you think of Friday night football, it does. There's so many memories. And Anthony, when you said that, those were your best memories. You played in the NFL. You played a high level in the Pac-10 in college football, and I'll never forget. My high school coach told us of, a Sports Illustrated article where Danny Ainge, who'd played Major League Baseball, he'd played in the NBA, and he'd played in the meccas of sports, right? And he was asked, what is your favorite place to play? And he said, North Eugene High School on a Friday night under the lights.
Yes.
And that's a guy who'd played in Madison Square Garden, Fenway Park, Yankee Stadium, Old Tiger Stadium, the LA Forum. He played in all of them. And it was North Eugene High School on a Friday night for high school football. And I remember we had to fact check it because Danny Ainge's nephew was our quarterback. And we looked at him and he was like, yeah, he said that.
It was an actual
It was
quote,
okay, we got verification right there. But that's the meaning of high school football Friday night. There's no other feeling like it, and those are memories that are relatable to everybody. That has played high school football. It, whether you're at Cleveland High School or Westland High School, where the atmosphere and expectations may be a little bit different on any given night. It's still the best feeling in the world, and it's a memory that you'll never forget.
No doubt about it. About 20 years ago, I could throw a football over those mountains over there.
Right.
Oh, there you go.
PIL champs.
There you go.
PIL champs, Andy Dirt
Put
Johnson.
some respect on the name, damn it. Come
go.
on, baby. I love it. It's going to be fun tonight. I'm with you. Dusty is right. There is a weird feeling about Friday night games, and it's kind of encroaching on that territory. But another example of welcome to modern college football. What do TV networks want? more windows, more eyeballs, standalone games. And so that is one thing about tonight. When you look at the ratings throughout the year on those Friday night games, the numbers have been really good. So there's going to be a lot of people out there watching Oregon and Michigan State tonight. Some people around the country seeing them for the first time. So we got Friday night lights here at Autzen Stadium. Let's continue to dive into this matchup. Michigan State is in town. What do they do well? What do they not do well? That is coming up next. We're live down here at Autzen Stadium in front of the Moe Center. Back after this on 1080 The Fan.
When I realized I was going to have to sign up for my own health insurance plan, I was ready to freak. But then I found Health Markets. Health Markets lays out a list of plans available to you. It's
Cold refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
Now going to go deep. Boys got him down there. Catch made. Keep your balance. Touchdown, Oregon.
It's time for the Ducks Game Day scoreboard with previews and scores from around the country on your home for Oregon Ducks football, the Odyssey app, and 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in live at Autzen Stadium. For those who haven't kept track, by the way, this is a scoreboard segment. There are no scores going on. It is a Friday, in case you did not know. Syracuse and UNLV play later tonight, so that's another game you can keep an eye on if you're sitting at home watching football. UNLV is ranked in the top 25 for the first time in the history of their program, and they're welcoming an ACC team into town with the hopes of making the college football playoff potentially. So, fun little game tonight.
Best start since 1983 when Randall Cunningham was their quarterback.
Oh,
Icky Woods was their running back.
Icky Woods.
And Kenny Mayne was their punter.
Oh. How'd you know?
I did not know. He played college football? I didn't know he did.
At UNLV. He was Randall Cunningham's backup and the punter.
Huh.
Yeah, for UNLV. How about that?
That's a hell of a
I
combo
played against
of people.
Icky Woods. And,
Did you?
Yeah, he was a beast.
Did he Icky shuffle on
yes,
you?
No, not me. No. I didn't give him the chance. When he got in the end zone, I ran out. So
I'm going the other direction.
He was a load, man.
Yes, he was.
Getting out of this camera shot.
Yeah, really.
So no scoreboard segment here. I will say, really, Oregon in their uniforms, and they're always talked about and discussed. And look, for one, I don't know how you guys felt last week. that was as close to like a sports erection that I could get. If we're just being honest here, those were a thing. Were they not? Can you back me up here? Those are beautiful.
You're right.
Okay.
They were beautiful.
Thank you. Sorry for my vulgar language, but those
were
were perfect.
Yeah.
I felt like I was watching Anthony Newman out there.
It did.
It's the way it should be.
It felt good to see those colors back on the field.
It's
like as the look.
Thank you. Thank you. That's our colors.
Now they're going to wear all black next week for the game again.
Right.
All right, whatever. But this week is really cool. So if you haven't seen it, they're doing Oregon and cancer awareness and the fight and all that.
Stomp out cancer. The fight and flight.
Yeah, they're really cool, and they used Dan Lanning's wife and his sons to help kind of come up with ideas and design it. So if you haven't seen that video, go watch it. It's worth your time. They have come out with these T-shirts as well that have the ice cream cone on it, with the Oregon O as the ice cream cone, and so it was an homage because Lanning said they used to always go get ice cream after his wife would go through their cancer treatments, and so really cool touch, and that's something they've been working on for a long time, and so tonight will be special. For that reason, just all yellow is always fun. You get yellow versus white tonight, but just when you have that connection kind of and for a really good cause, it's always a uniform you can get behind.
Yeah, and I mean the stories behind each accent of the uniform. So each player's going to have bands of different colors on the toe of their cleat, and that was his youngest son, Titan, is the one that came up with that because he wants not one specific type of cancer to be acknowledged. He wanted all of them.
Right.
The ice cream cones are from another son who brought up that story. You have the O was designed by his wife with the yellow ribbon coming underneath it. Was designed by her on a flight back from a bowl game. Right?
Oh, wow.
They have like the oh boy, this is my science not showing right now.
Not showing up.
They have
the molecules.
The molecules
that you're looking
for
Yeah,
Red Devil, which they use to treat aggressive forms of cancer. These are all parts of the uniform, and it's really cool that they took everything that the Lanning family kind of wanted in this, and they wrapped it all into a really cool uniform.
Well, and then you get a chance on top of it to, you look good, you feel good, you play good. We all know that's how it works. And Michigan State in town tonight. They are a team, Anthony, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this as a secondary guy. I mean, when you look at their average depth of target, this is a team that pushes the ball down the field. They are not afraid to take chances. Now, you noted earlier in the show, Aiden Childs has thrown a lot of interceptions. That's part of the reason why. But this feels like a good test for Oregon secondary tonight, where they got some dudes on the outside that can go up and get it, and they got a quarterback that he's kind of playing this year like he's got nothing to lose. He's just chucking it up, but they're going to test his secondary tonight.
Well, here's what scares me about Aiden Childs. He can run. That's what bothers me. He can run. If he's going to sit back in the pocket and he's going to look down the field and can't find anything, he's going to take off. So if it's 3rd and 15, now you got to take a guy out of the drop, okay, and spy him and look at him because you have a lot of receivers. Michigan State has a lot of receivers that he will throw to. I mean, there's a gang of them. Some of them are hurt, some are playing, but there's a gang of receivers. So he's going to throw the ball all over the place. But what scares me the most, again, is when you have a quarterback that can scramble. He can buy time to hit the receivers down the field. So it's up to the defensive linemen of Oregon to get to the quarterback, control their pass rush, and make sure you can contain him and keep him in the pocket. And you want him to throw from the pocket because of those 8 picks.
Yeah, we heard that after the game against Oregon State, right, with Giovanni McCoy. They wanted to cage him, right?
Yes,
it's not your defensive ends pinning your ears back and getting upfield and trying to get a sack like it was last week against Ethan Garbers. It was, all right, how do we funnel him to a specific spot where once we funnel him there, our linebackers can come up and make a play. Our defensive tackles can scrape off and pinch down and take it away from the quarterback. And they felt that they did an okay job, but not a great job of that against McCoy. You look at the 2 longest runs that they had for Oregon State. They were the 38-yard scramble on that first drive. He had another 16-yard run on a scramble where they didn't play it the way that they wanted to, and that's the dangerous part about a running quarterback. And, this is, to Anthony's point, man, he does have receivers, though. And, I mean, we were talking with Andrew Nemec, and Nemec told us, we're getting old because there's a Thomas Jr. Well, guess what? Antonio Gates Jr. plays for Michigan State.
God, man.
That's where we're at.
What happened, man? What happened?
Time flies.
What the hell
Time
happened?
flies.
Yeah, Anthony's
welcome.
like, this is an old game for me.
Welcome. Hey, welcome to the party.
I've been playing this game for a long time. Man.
Anthony's sitting there going, yeah, I coached Alex Molden's kid, and he's already in the NFL.
That's right.
No, exactly.
Oh, man. A fun challenge tonight for Oregon's defense. Michigan State does not run the ball efficiently or very well, but they do sling it around a little bit. And to both your points, Aiden Childs can run, and so we'll see if they can keep him in the pocket. Tonight it will be a fun test because I think a lot of the way we're viewing today's game, or tonight's game, I should say, is how are you feeling going into next weekend, right? I mean, take care of business tonight. Obviously, we're not, the team's not looking ahead to next week. We can do that a little bit. It's a lot of these kind of checking, all right, how does this unit look? How are you against, the pass? You got a wide receiver coming to town next week in Jeremiah Smith, who's one of the best freshmen that we've ever seen. So the fact that he's coming to town is going to be a good test for Oregon's secondary tonight. We'll see how they can stand up to it. What is the game to watch this weekend in college football? We'll get to that coming up next. You got the Ducks pregame show live down here at Autzen Stadium on 1080 The Fan.
It is a slow go out there on your way to Eugene, approaching now 3 hours of drive time, intermittent periods of slowing from north of 217 all the way to about Hubbard and the Salem area. Pretty jacked up as well. It looks pretty clear the rest of the way, though. It might have a smoky south of Hubbard, and again, just as you get near Eugene. It is 58, mostly cloudy here in Portland, 55 and mostly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day with an overnight low of 48. For the 6 o'clock kick in Eugene, look for 62, partly cloudy skies with just a slight breeze. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victorico's Mexican Food. Order Victorico's Mexican Food for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com.
For over 45 years.
Celebrate responsibly. Find out which game across the country our hosts are most interested in. Other than our game, of course.
Never a good look when your conference champion can't beat like an 8-4 team from the SEC.
This is the game to watch on your home for Ducks football. The Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. You'll hear from Joey Harrington in a moment. You just heard from him like 2 hours ago. That's the beauty of a Friday game. He was just on with Isaac and Suk, who did noon to 2 today.
Yeah.
Everything's all flip-flopped around, and we're here. We're having a fun time down at Autzen Stadium. The sun is slowly starting to break through. Game to watch this weekend. I'll start, and I'll see if you guys have any disagreements. We already went through the Big Ten slate, so I'm going to go outside of the Big Ten. I'm going to give you tomorrow, 4:30 on ABC. Tennessee seems like one of the best teams in the country. They look awesome. Defensively, they look the part. Nico is doing it at quarterback. On the road in Fayetteville, Arkansas, where many a team has gone and lost in the SEC over the years. That is only a 13-point spread. Taylon Green, great athlete, transfer from Boise State. I got that game circled. That is my game to watch tomorrow.
Really?
That is my game.
Not bad.
I think they pound them into submission.
Sniffing an upset.
Their defense, Tennessee's defense is really good.
They are
this
the
year.
real deal this year.
Yeah. Hey, I got a bounce back game.
Oh, let's go.
Okay.
Georgia. Okay.
Yeah.
They lost a tough one. And I like the way Georgia plays on defense. We mimic that defense at Westland. And so to see them go against Auburn in this game tomorrow night, I want to see how they bounce back, or do they keep falling in a hole? Do they keep slipping? I don't know.
Yeah, I would hate to be.
Yes, Auburn.
Auburn.
Yes.
Like Hugh Freeze is already going through it. Their quarterbacks are already.
I don't want to be Peyton Thorne right now.
No,
that's not fun.
I don't want to be Auburn. I'm with you on that one.
Okay, you got another game that stands out, Dusty? Anything?
Not. I mean, outside of the Big Ten slate is actually the one that is probably
slate.
the most intriguing across college football because I mean. Does Missouri, Texas A&M do it for you? I don't
really.
know. I don't know why A&M is ranked.
No. And I also don't think Missouri's a top 10 team in the country.
Yeah.
That's the hard part with that game.
I mean,
we find out more about both of them at least, so that's a silver lining.
Yeah, Brady Cook, the quarterback at Missouri, he and Luther Burden, their star wide receiver, they are such a fun duo to watch. But, I don't know. Like, people are saying we're going to learn a lot about Missouri because they got to go down to Allen Field. It's like, well, I saw Notre Dame go down to Allen Field and
they did
win by double digits against A&M.
Yeah, that did
so
happen.
are we really going to go? And then they lost to Northern Illinois the next week. It's
very next week.
So are we going to learn a lot?
Yeah, no, valid points. Valid points. The exciting thing about this weekend is there's not that like Georgia Alabama game.
No.
There's going to be a game that ends up being the game to watch, and we just don't know it yet. Who is it going to be? We'll find out tomorrow, but there will be one. I'm sure somebody will be on upset alert, and let's just sure as hell hope it's not Oregon tonight. Joey Harrington, he's coming up next. You got the Ducks pregame show live down at Autzen on 1080 The Fan.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They
a player's perspective is there, Joey, to how you play the week before versus how you play in that big game the next week? Does it matter? On the fan?
Ish. I mean, if anything, it maybe gives you a little bit more peace of mind. But I mean, it's not gonna. I don't know. I guess I'm coming at it from the perspective of having played well one week and then lost the next.
Right.
And
well, that's kind of what I was looking
where
for.
it's where it's like, you barely squeak it out every week and you end the season 11-1. Like,
right. So just win this game. Just get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a we're all sick of hearing it, but one game at a time, one play at a time, that mindset is truly what everybody has to have. And sure, I mean, you feel better if you win and play well, but if you don't, or I should say you win and you don't play well, then maybe there's a little bit more drive, a little bit more. We better get our stuff in order. Not that you need any extra motivation coming into a game like Ohio State.
Did you ever overlook an opponent because the next week was so important?
I can't think of anything, because even the games like, I'm trying to think of the non-league games that you play at the start of the season. We started the year by having Wisconsin, at our place my senior year, and then we had our non-league games afterwards. I mean, I really can't. Look, there's no. If you overlook an opponent, and this is kind of and maybe Suk, you can hop in on this. I've talked to a lot of guys about this. I would say the majority of players, be it college or NFL, are motivated more by the fear of failure, the fear of making an ass of yourself, than they are by the thought of doing something positive and winning, right? So if that is your let's say underlying feeling, that idea of even if it's just Idaho, I better show up or I'm going to look like a fool, right? And that's a pretty motivating thing.
All right, well, have a great weekend. Enjoy the game tonight, and can't wait to talk to you about Ohio State next week.
Go Ducks.
All right, that's Joey Harrington, courtesy of Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Hey, Duck fans. Just like our team on the field, at Unitas Community Credit Union, we know the power of teamwork. Whether you're planning for a big win like buying a home, cruising to a new car, or setting up a game plan for your savings, Unitas
quickly, and then we'll get to Mike Jorgensen, the color analyst for the Oregon Ducks. I think the biggest advantage Oregon has in this game, you look at the rushing numbers for Michigan State's offense this year. They ranked 15th in the Big Ten in rushing yards per game, and so very similar to UCLA last year, although UCLA far behind where Michigan State was coming into that game. But you look at Michigan State, you bottle up the run early, you force them into 3rd and long. This defensive line can dominate the way they dominated the game last weekend. Look forward to that happening here tonight. We'll talk with Jorgie here in a moment more about how that D-line can dominate the matchup. Pacific Office Automation has your office game plan. Visit them today for a full technology assessment at pacificoffice.com. Pacific Office Automation, problem solved. Mike Jorgensen coming up next, live down here at Autzen Stadium. But now, time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victoricos Mexican Food. Order Victoricos for your Game Day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
Look, it is one heck of a slog out there. Drive time approaching 3 hours. Intermittent periods of slowing from north of 217 all the way through Salem and to the north end of Albany. Looks pretty clear the rest of the way, though, and no reports of Smokies at this time. It is 58, mostly cloudy here in Portland, 55 and mostly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks Game Day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day here with an overnight low of 48. For the 6 o'clock kick in Eugene, look for 62 and partly cloudy skies with just a slight breeze. I'm Jeff Russ with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victoricos Mexican Food.
Looking for a better primary care?
Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. Continues with Ask Jorgie. A preview of today's game with network color analyst and former Ducks quarterback Mike Jorgensen on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
All right, let's talk to the color analyst of the Oregon Ducks, Mike Jorgensen, who is acknowledging the frozen tundra that we're standing in here. Are we? What's going on
this
down
here,
here, man?
Ridiculous.
We're freezing down here. I'm going to start with letting you ask a question, Jorgie. You got anything you want to ask Anthony Newman about Tiger tonight?
Yeah. Anthony, if you don't mind, I want to kind of ask you, on paper, you guys should kill those guys tonight, shouldn't you?
No, it's going to be a tough game. It may go overtime.
I told you.
You threw that BS question at me last week with UCLA. I was like, what is this about?
I'm sorry.
Oh, man, that is fantastic. That's a great way to start. I want to bring up something, Jorgie. We haven't talked about it yet on the show, but made note of it. Terrence Ferguson goes down last week. Scary. Great to see him back healthy, hopefully playing tonight. The way Dylan Gabriel got in the face, it felt like every UCLA defender, but just what that meant as a quarterback standing up, being the leader of this team.
Oh, the team. I mean, it wasn't just the offense being out there on the field and seeing him, go after Brian Addison and up in his face, and he was going to defend his guys. But I'll tell you, that's the type of thing, if the rest of the sideline sees it too, it's like, that guy's all in.
Yeah.
He is all in. And so it was refreshing, frankly. I didn't expect it out of him. I didn't expect to see that out of Dylan Gabriel. Not that he's not a tough guy and going to stick up for his guys, but at the same time, that was needed.
And bulldog attitude.
Yeah, it was great to see.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things, though, that you're seeing more of a connection. And I think the last couple of games we've seen, and I don't know if you've seen it, that turn the corner as far as the command of this offense a little bit more from Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean, he has made that. I guess I sit there and what I like to do is I like to back up 2 years and go, what was Bo doing in the first 3 or 4 games? How was he playing? How quickly did he turn on to the new offense and catch it and get into a rhythm and that type of deal? And so that's where I think about it, Dusty, is he's really gotten himself into a rhythm and consistent. And, I mean, when you got Tez Johnson in the slot position, he's catching a lot of balls. And hopefully it isn't a matter of I'm going to my favorite receiver versus reading what the defense is giving you. But, man, I'll tell you what, he has been really good, accurate, making good decisions. One bad decision at the end of last week, and unfortunately that goes for a touchdown the other direction type situation. But, man, I'll tell you, he has been good. He's been complete. He's been efficient. He's been a leader. All the different things go with it. So I look at 4 games in for him and 4 games in for Bo, at least what I can remember from 2 years ago. And, geez, it seems like Dylan's a little bit ahead.
The
frankly.
accuracy is remarkable. Some of the places that he's putting balls, that one that Herbert dropped last week was just a thing of beauty in between a couple of defenders. It was such a bummer he didn't make the catch. Anthony, you want to ask Georgie anything about how Oregon should blow out Michigan State tonight?
Well, I know, yeah, I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Michigan State's defense is a little stout against the run, Georgie. They're a little stout. Do you think Oregon's going to still run the football? I mean, meaning establish the running game in that first quarter, try to get the running game going?
Well, they're going to have to run it some. I mean, I just don't think you can sit back there with Dylan Gabriel and throw it 30 or 40 times a game against what I think, Anthony, is the best defense they're probably going to have faced so far this season. They're ahead of schedule. We were just talking to the radio crew up there from Michigan State, and the one thing that they're really happy about is the defense, other than Ohio State just kind of bullied them and manhandled them with just better players overall last week. But that's the one thing that has kept them in a lot of the games, like at Boston College, when frankly they were turning the ball over a bunch, but the defense kept them in it. And those guys have said defense is ahead of schedule. They lost a couple of really good DBs against Prairie View earlier in the season, which was too bad for them. A couple of starters that they haven't gotten back, and so that has hurt them a little bit. But when you lose 2 guys like that, and you're still playing the type of defense you are, I think, Anthony. But Oregon, to answer your question, they still have to run the ball. You've got to make an effort to run the ball. And I think the way that Michigan State's defense runs, I don't know if you're going to be able to throw 15 or 20 outside screens like they did against UCLA last week and get away with it.
Yeah, and on that note of running the ball, we were talking about this earlier. The yards per carry, the rushing game, seems like it's getting going and becoming more efficient. The one thing they're missing is explosive runs. They just haven't had a lot of those.
None last week.
None. I mean, I think 16 was the longest one from James. Ankle tackles, is it not? I mean, what are we seeing there, and what's that kind of one missing link that's keeping that 7-yard gain from going 35?
I mean, sometimes it is a downfield blocking by receivers. Yeah. If you break something outside and you're making some good blocks on the outside, that's how those guys take a run that's 8 or 10 yards and turn it into the 30 or 40 when an Evan Stewart or a Tez or somebody else out there is making that type of play. And so to me, it's more about what you're doing down the field once those running backs. Game 1 and Game 2, a lot of ankle tackles, a lot of shoestring tackles. You got to pick up your feet and make a big play even bigger type of situation. But the last couple of games, Oregon State, they busted a couple. I think the downfield blocking was pretty good.
Yeah.
I sit there and look at Lamar's outside screen long touchdown run and what they were doing to block that piece of it. They did a great job. And it wasn't a running play, but it almost felt like a glorified running play. And so you got to block better on the outside. Those guys have got to be a big part of the big plays.
Yeah.
One thing that's been really impressive to me over the last 2 seasons is tackling is not an issue for Oregon anymore.
It's really improved, hasn't it?
And the linebackers have done an incredible job of that this year. I mean, the development that we've seen, and there's a lot of people that said linebacker may be kind of, if you're going to pinpoint a weakness of this defense, the linebacker would be it. But I look at those guys, and even with injuries that they've kind of battled through early with Bassa, that group has been outstanding.
It's deep
for
now and good.
Yeah, Devin Jackson, Bryce Betcher have been so good that we haven't seen a lot of Justin Jacobs yet this year.
Right, yeah. I haven't called his name a whole lot. There's no doubt about it. But those linebackers have been really good and in the right spot at the right time. And really about the only time they've tackled poorly was, Ashton Genty? Who hasn't tackled that guy poorly?
Washington State last week.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't think he can be tough.
Yeah, he is something else. But they're in the right place at the right time. I also think they've been a lot more effective because the defensive line has been so good. When they can scrape up and down the line of scrimmage without people biting their ankles and diving at their feet and being able to get up the field on them, the linebackers are a lot better when that happens. And Betcher's that's been fun watching him. I mean, the other guys are really good too, so nothing against them, all due respect, but he is just all Johnny around the ball all the time. And last week's interception, after 3 or 4 pass breakups during the season where he was in the right position, refreshing to see him then read it, make that interception nice and clean. And Yeah, been fun watching those guys. Hope they can continue tonight because Aiden Childs can move around a little bit.
Yes, he can.
Be really disciplined. Yep.
Well, and on that note, I mean, the defensive line last week, it felt like they grabbed a stranglehold of that game after that opening drive, and you had Birch just dominate a series by himself. You had guys in the backfield, Bossa coming away with the sack. It felt like one of those, not that they haven't yet so far this year, but when you can force a team into 3rd and long, let's see how good this pass rush can be. And it felt like they dominated that game. And with Michigan State's inability to run the ball, maybe a similar theme tonight potentially. 3rd and long, go attack him, get after him.
That's what you hope.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. I mean, Michigan State was in big-time trouble with Ohio State last week because they couldn't run the ball. Yeah. And then they began to throw it to the wrong team, and that combination's not real good. You know, they're -7 this year on turnover takeaway ratio, and you're going to have a hard time winning a lot of games or being on the right side of a lot of games if you do that all season long. And that's one thing that they've got to change. And for Oregon tonight, frankly, that's the only thing to me that can beat them against Michigan State. Is if all of a sudden you get in a turnover mode where you're fumbling the ball or throwing interceptions or balls are getting batted at the line of scrimmage and there's an interception, that's the only thing that can really bring Oregon down. So I think you play clean football again or pretty close to clean from a turnover standpoint, get the ball a couple of times, I think you're going to be in good shape.
Last one, and I'm sure you've been asked about this a million times. I know you talked about it on the coaches show this week, the Big Ten logo on the Rose Bowl. Just
it was
weird. And now it's Jonathan Smith in town wearing green with a Big Ten logo on the field. Exciting, but weird.
I didn't think about the green on Jonathan Smith.
Imagine saying that 3 years ago. You're going to run into Autzen, you're going to be wearing green.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, but I'm excited for it here, though, just because we've played a few games at home.
Yeah.
Not against the Big Ten team, mind you, but a couple in a row. Hopefully the boys are focused on this one and not the one next week, because it's going to be a lot of fun next week if you take care of business here tonight.
Got to do it tonight. And the crowd could use a nice, comfortable, a little uneasy the first 2 home games of the year. Let's give them something to, everybody hit the road at the end of the 3rd quarter. Do shout. It's a nice blowout win and hit the road. Mike Jorgensen, color analyst of the Ducks. Always enjoy it. Shorts as always. And look forward to next weekend.
Thanks,
guys. Love it. All right, there you go. That is Mike Jorgensen every single week. We'll talk to him again next weekend. What's at stake? Coming up next, Ducks pregame show on 1080 The Fan.
Don't let the game
Sharpen the knives and make some picks.
How do you feel about this weekend?
Do you rent that yacht?
No, I own it.
That's how I feel about this weekend.
It's time for What's at Stake as the Ducks Game Day hosts look at the most impactful games in college football. Brought to you by Laurelhurst Market. More than just your friendly neighborhood steakhouse. Make your reservation today at laurelhurstmarket.com.
All right, final couple segments for us live down at Autzen Stadium as we get set. Oregon, Michigan State coming up at 6, and you can hear the game right here on the Fan. If you're at home watching on TV, you can either sync up and listen to the radio call, or it's going to be on Fox tonight. What's at stake? Before we get to that, remember to listen to the Pacific Office Automation postgame scoreboard show and hear the Game Day secret score. Your chance to win a $100 Laurelhurst Market gift card, which Sprague and I will give away in the 7 a.m. hour on Monday. So, again, make sure to listen to the postgame scoreboard show as you're driving home if you're on your way down late tonight after the game, and you will have a chance to win that $100 Laurelhurst Market gift card as Michigan State buses are getting ready to pull in as the Spartans are arriving here at Autzen Stadium. What's at stake tonight, Anthony, is just, I think, feeling great going into the game that we have all circled. You know, we're not in the locker room. You don't want the team to look ahead to next week. Right. A lot of fans are, because that's one of the biggest games in the history of the program. But I think tonight is kind of settling that down, feeling great going into that big matchup.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have to take care of business, and the players know this, the coaches know this. I think we're looking for being consistent for 4 quarters, so you can take that into the Ohio State game. If you're playing consistent, there's nobody in the country that can beat you, or it's going to be a dogfight. But if you're up and down and you're struggling here and there, then there's a chance. And this team, Michigan State, has a stout defense, and they got Aiden Childs, who's a quarterback who can run a little bit. He can hurt you. So let's play consistent football for 4 quarters. Well said.
Pacific Office Automation, the Laurelhurst Market is more than just your friendly neighborhood steakhouse. Make your reservation today at laurelhurstmarket.com, and then listen to the Pacific Office Automation postgame scoreboard show later tonight. The line to watch, our last segment. We'll wrap things up down at Autzen next on 1080 The Fan.
Stop by O'Reilly.
Ducks! It's time for the Line to Watch, where our Ducks Game Day hosts responsibly look at the number on select college matchups and predict the score of today's Ducks game. Don't worry, we'll check their work after the game on the post-game scoreboard show. The Line to Watch is brought to you by Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division. Don't let the game play you. For more information on problem gambling prevention and treatment resources, visit opgr.org.
All right, Line to Watch, our last segment before we send you up into the booth, is brought to you by Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division. Don't let the game play you. For more information on problem gambling prevention and treatment resources, visit opgr.org. Last segment for us, Anthony, just your last thought, and then the spread 23. I know we don't always get a final score prediction, but with just kind of how we feeling. Final thought here on the game tonight, Oregon and Michigan State coming up in 2 hours.
Well, I'm looking at the quarterback position, and Oregon has the better quarterback, Dylan Gabriel. He touches the ball every offensive snap, and he is the guy. He's the difference maker for this football game. They win by 20.
20? Okay,
yes.
I like that. That's fair.
They're going to put it together tonight.
I think so, too. I think the other thing you wonder, hopefully a great first half. You don't end the first half the way you did last week against UCLA. And then you kind of, second half, let's get out of this thing healthy, get ready for next week, but come out, set the tone early. I'm going to go 38-17 final score prediction. I'll go right about the same winning margin as you. So that's my final thought. Oregon and Michigan State coming up at 6. Anthony, good luck tonight, buddy. Go get a win, okay?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And then next week, folks, I don't know if you know who's in town, but it's a pretty big game, and we're going to be down here again. Cannot wait. That will do it for us. Thanks, everybody, for watching on YouTube, for tuning into the show. We will talk to you next week. We'll send you up into the booth coming up next. As always, go Ducks.
Oregon Ducks football on 1080 The Fan is brought to you by Coors Light, Pacific Office Automation, Mods PDX, Victor Rico's Mexican Food,